Welcome to a video guide to help you to understand, deliver and assess the Cambridge Nationals in Information Technologies R013. My name is Richard Howe and I'm the lead moderator. The unit for R013 technology is called Developing Technical Solutions. This unit assesses the ability of the candidates to apply their knowledge and understanding in a practical way. We want to see what the candidates can actually produce. The premise for R013 unit is that candidates are required to design and produce an integrated system for a client in approximately 20 hours. This places the candidate in a real-world vocational situation, much as they would be expected to be if they were an IT consultant. The candidates are given a scenario, providing them with a client who they need to deliver the project for. The candidate's first task will be to read the scenario and to get to grips with what it requires. They will then need to start making several choices based upon what they find the scenario demands. This will require them to use some of the skills they've learnt in R002 of the specification. The candidate will need to produce an analysis of the project, the requirements to initiate it, and plan and design their solution, so that the client will get the product at the end of it that they desire. This will again require them to use the skills and knowledge that they have developed in lessons from R002. They may also find that some of the knowledge they have acquired in lessons in R001 will help them. The difference, though, is that they don't need to explain why they have actually used that knowledge from R001. They just need to apply it to the scenario. It may help them making more intelligent decisions. Once they have planned the project, the candidate needs to use the data files given to them and the software that they have chosen to manipulate the data to extract the information that the client wants. They're trying to develop a system that will work once they've handed over to the client, not one that works once and then stops. So the data manipulation should work when future data is added to it. How they manipulate the data and what software they use are choices that the candidate needs to make. Once again, the candidate must choose the most appropriate method of communicating this data, which is now information to the necessary audiences. These choices should have been made during the initiation and planning phase, and here the candidates what they said they would do. After each of these three phases of the project, the candidate should perform an iterative review of that phase. This should involve them commenting on how well it went, what they changed as they worked, what they could have done better. It does not mean that they just describe what they did in each phase. Finally, they produce an evaluation of the completed project. Was it successful? Did it meet the client's needs? What would they do in the future if they did this project again? This qualification does not need the candidate to produce pages of screenshots describing what they did. They have 20 hours, and within that 20 hours, they have to initiate, plan, and develop a solution. They do not need to spend their time describing what they do. The assessment is done on what they actually produce. The evidence should be produced and submitted in each of the three main phases of the project so that it matches the marking grid. This makes it easier for the candidates to see what they have done or not, and makes it easier for the teacher to mark the work. So the initiation and planning phase should be in one folder with all the documents that phase included. This should allow the candidates to integrate, hyperlink or embed their work together easier. This would include a project analysis together with all the planning documents ready to go. The data manipulation evidence is the spreadsheet or the database or both that the candidates have produced to meet the project requirements. They should show a few development versions of them as well as the final finished versions. All of these should be submitted in one folder. The only screenshots that should be included are in the test plan, which they should have developed in the planning phase and then completed as they work through the project. The information presentation documents should be produced and submitted in their own folder. These should include all the documents produced to meet the final requirements, together with final PDF versions of any dynamic documents, such as a mail merge. To show the mail merge, the word process document, for example, should be in the folder, which would show the merge fields in the document and the links to the source data, together with the final PDF documents of the final merged letter, as required. Each of these phases should be reviewed, and how it is submitted can vary. Candidates may decide to submit a review in each of the folders of the phases, or produce a final review document. This will depend on how they prefer to work. The evidence should be clear to see what they are reviewing each phase and not describing what they did to produce the solution. The candidate also needs to include a document where they evaluate the project as a whole and how successful it has been. Templates and writing frames are not allowed under JCQ regulations. However, there are some business standard templates that can be used, as long as each candidate customises it to their own project. The main example of this would be a test plan. There are industry standards that you can find in textbooks and on the internet. Candidates can use these if they are altered for the project and client, i.e. colours, logos and headings, etc. The use of a generic template by all candidates is not allowed and is viewed as overguidance. The other solution where templates are used is when software selected by the candidates contain wizards and templates that they can select. Wizard-style tools for creating queries such as merges, tables of contents or writing macros are fine. In fact, they are good use of tools within the software. Nobody in a real-world situation would ignore these tools and do everything from scratch. They all require the candidate to make informed decisions so that they work appropriately. However, slideshow transitions or document margins and sizes where no thought is given are not allowed. There are examples of documents where transitions will be put in straight away, and when the candidate plays the presentation or we do, they're there automatically. The candidate has made no thought or justification for it. The same goes for page settings in desktop publishing, where generic layouts are set for different types of documents with headings, etc., already in place. All the candidate needs to do is replace them with their information. These do not allow the candidate to produce their work to the best quality and does not demonstrate any knowledge and understanding of what they are doing clearly. Candidates can resit the moderated work twice over the duration of the course, so you may be considering building in time for at least one resit for the coursework project. Each time they resit, however, they need to produce a whole new project. They cannot rework an earlier one. Hence, they need the full 20 hours each time. It is not a case of just making changes and resubmitting. It's resit, not resubmit. So starting with the practical work is a good start. Candidates can lead through the applied aspect of the course, developing the skills and knowledges of LO2, LO5 and LO7 in hands-on methods. This would prepare them for the coursework while also giving them practical experience of some of the examination aspects in LO1, LO3, LO4 and LO6. This gives teachers some experiences to pin future learning on and also provides candidates with reference points to relate the theory to. This is not an NEA, so all the work does not need to be done in one go, and the candidates can have access to the internet in lessons. They cannot, however, have access to their exam accounts outside of the lessons. One possible method of working is to chunk the project down into phases. Having already taught all the LOs, you can then recap on the initiation and planning of the project, provide the candidates with a scenario, and then give them the time to initiate and plan the final project. This then works on to aspects of 1A and 1.2 of the marking criteria. They can also then carry out a review of this work. Then recap how to work with databases and spreadsheets. We know candidates forget about the work once they've been taught. Then give them the scenario and their planning back and unlock their exam accounts. The candidates can then complete the data manipulation phase based on what they have planned and what they have recapped in recent lessons. This process can then be repeated for the other phases of the project. This approach removes the daunting aspect of a 20-hour project from the candidates and allows them to manage their work better. Generic guidance is where you, as the teacher, can provide comments to the group without specifically targeting a candidate or an aspect of work. The advice and comments you give must need to be interpreted by the candidate to be used. You can read the assignment to them and help the candidate understand what they need to do, but you cannot break it down and tell them step by step what they need to do. You can say to the group, remember that the client wants a system to have an easy to use interface so that it's not complicated for the users. You cannot say, you need to create a switchboard with buttons on that start the queries running or print a report. You can say, the mark scheme says that there are logical dependencies shown for some tasks and subtasks, although it is not presented as a critical path. You cannot say you need to break each task down into smaller tasks. You need to get these in the correct order, so if a task needs something done before it to be completed, it's done. You can say, look at your notes that we went through in lessons to help you plan timetables for the project. Look at how we did it and the software we used. You cannot say, you need to improve the Gantt chart because you don't have enough tasks. I hope this video has been helpful and answered any questions that you've had. Don't forget that there are lots of resources available on the OCR website, including examples of coursework with commentaries and guidance in terms of what you can teach, how to teach it, and the skills that we're looking for.